crowds like this very often. This is going to be an interesting atmosphere as we get underway in Cincinnati. That is a hefty collision right off the bat.
That's exactly what New York wants to start pressing early, pressing quickly, and trying to reduce spaces. Meanwhile, you're going to have a very swarming Cincinnati side like you see right now, trying to recover the ball as quickly as possible and trying to play the ball up the pitch with a lot of patience, looking for the right person, looking for the right individual, and looking for the right moment to attack.
Long throw into the 18 is knotted out of play. A throw for Cincinnati, and when you look at these two teams, John Harkes will play the way he deems fit game to game. This is a Red Bulls team too that's beholden to the way Jesse Marsch wants to play. As this ball chipped over the top, kicked away from Hildebrand. This is going to be a high press. It's going to be the New York Red Bulls style of play, regardless of how the game sort of develops.
Exactly, and you see it right now. A little bit of confusion, a little bit of jitters early on as you see Cincinnati not really knowing what to do, the ball bouncing around more than they'd want to, and that's part of what New York's able to do. Now, that being said, there are some spaces they could be attacked once they get the ball.
Put in play and aimed at the back post. Touched away from Brandon Allen. Knockback for Speedy Williams. Up the line for Flemings. That ball knocked out of play. It's another sliding challenge for Cincinnati and another corner for New York Red Bulls too.
And that's what Flemings does offer you, the young Jamaican. He can really move around very well down the right wing, can attack, can do a great deal of things. Lots of praise from Coach John Willenek so far, talking about Flemings being the find of the season so far.
This corner kick coming right in front of the Bailey. That's Derek Etienne Jr., our center referee, trying to reestablish order in the 18. It's Rosendo Mendoza. Etienne Jr. nodded over by Pleva. Justin Bilyeu out in front, and Brandon Allen wasn't able to get there in time, kicked out by Pleva.
First 3 minutes of the match already in Cincinnati. Not only have they not been able to get out of their own half of the pitch, they haven't been able to get out of their own 18, except for now. And that's part of that pressure that New York does apply.
So Cincinnati trying to work out of the back for the first time tonight. There's Kyle Rainish. Gets his second start of the season. He made one start in mid-June against Harrisburg, a 2-save shutout and a 1-0 win for the Red Bulls too, who are on an 11-game unbeaten streak. Bonomo. Slow to get up there. Etienne Jr. over the top. Allen up the right wing and across to the middle of the field. Etienne kicked away by Nicholson. Well, this has been a dream start for New York Red Bulls too. They've possessed literally the entire 4 minutes.
Yeah, and that dream, they've seen the pretty girl, they just haven't been able to get to her just yet as they're getting very close to goal. But initially you see a Cincinnati side just trying to play the ball up, and that's one of the things that John Willenek did say prior to this match, saying if we give Cincinnati the opportunity and the option to play the ball up and to move the ball around on us, we're going to have some problems.
Tim Schmoll, the 6'6" defender out of Switzerland, undercut. Or was he?
With Okoli, I don't know of many people that can undercut that guy because he is just a train.
Cummings running right down the middle. And Schmoll there. Barry pushing ahead. Stevenson, the former New York Red Bull man himself, had the ball taken away. Etienne Jr. Double teamed up the line. And Pat McMahon, last to touch it, McMahon really struggled with the pace of Crystal Palace on the wings on that 2-0 defeat over the weekend in front of 35,061 fans. A sellout here at Nippert Stadium against the EPL side, and Wilfried Zaha really took advantage of them a bit. Played wide by Cummings. McLaughlin into the middle. Schmoll, and now it's Stevenson right into the hands of Rainish.
Again, good work. We've talked about early on how New York presses, but you start to see the spaces emerge. You start to see why, as I mentioned at the beginning, those teams that press high do leave some spaces behind them, and that's one of the keys to try and find. It does take a little bit of time, but once you do find the spaces, you do find the matchups where you can exploit.
Okoli into space, and he puts that way out of play.
You saw where he was positioned, right? You saw him right behind the midfield. That's a little bit of space where you can find and really exploit. Not only that, he decided to take the shot, but didn't look to his left, and he had a wide open opportunity where it could elaborate and really create itself into a very dangerous opportunity much closer to goal.
Rainish has spent 5 years at Real Salt Lake. Back into play. And pushing down Bill Yu was McMahon. Sitting on 4 yellow cards. He'll have a tenuous relationship with the referee tonight.
Yeah, him and, well, he's on the bench, Harrison Delbridge, with 4 yellow cards coming into this match. Of course, key, you mentioned that too, because both teams getting ready to embark on some serious road trips, and also a good series of matches coming up within a very short period of time.
And you look at Cincinnati in these 3 games, this will decide where they belong within the Eastern Conference. They face the number 2 team in the conference who has the highest points per game, and a team who John Harkes, the coach for FCC, been very clear. He thinks they are the best team in this league at this particular juncture. That's tonight. Then Louisville, who are number 1 in the Eastern Conference by points, and then Charleston, who sit 4th, all in a 10-day stretch, all at home. Cummings. And that was knocked away by Tim Schmoll, and Cummings, ever creative, earning the quarter.
And that's very important. You mentioned that all at home, and that right there is a litmus test for what to expect for this team. How much of a contender are they as far as the title is concerned, as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned? Where are they going to be standing at the end of that? Of course, there's still lots of time, and the conference and the playoffs are still a little bit of ways away.
Nicholson and Pleva now bashing it to midfield, and undefeated at home. It's rather undefeated on the road, Red Bulls, and then you look at some of the teams that have made runs in recent seasons, including LA Galaxy 2, doing a lot of games, all their games on the road last year in the postseason. Rainish out to grab this. You want to be at home in a playoff match, don't get me wrong, but Red Bulls too seem to be a team who don't really mind going on the road.
But that's what makes the difference in this league, or in any league for that matter, but especially in USL. What you're able to do on the road, the points you accumulate on the road, make you a contender, and I guess I'll use the cliche, or it doesn't, if you don't get those points, makes you a pretender. That's how you separate the creme de la creme in this league.
Okoli stepping over. Out wide for McLaughlin. McLaughlin tries a bouncing effort that Rainish dives on top.
We're almost 10 minutes in, Mike, and we saw the initial push by the Red Bulls. We haven't seen that anymore. Why? Because Cincinnati are possessing the ball. They are moving the ball around very well, able to exploit the spaces, and it's been Okoli, that point man, that brings in, look, 5 players around, and that really opens up spaces for everyone else to really create. That hasn't really come up into a clear, concise opportunity yet, but still, there are chances that could be made.
Etienne was looking for Allen and kicked away eventually from Bonomo. And somewhat characteristic of last game for Cincinnati, and don't get me wrong, it's Crystal Palace. It's a team that brought in 13 million pound transfers and the like. But a strugglesome first 10 minutes for Cincinnati. They conceded in the 8th minute to Jordan Much. But a quick turnaround for them, and see whether or not they've done the same tonight.
Yeah, but in those types of matches, I don't think the result is so important. What's more important is the improvement and the things that were worked on, where they worked on and where they improved from an execution standpoint.
Etienne puts that into the Bailey. Ambitious effort from Derek Etienne.
Again, how many shirts in white are there?
Not in that camera shot, one.
Well, outside of the one. That's not good news right there. Kenny Walker on the ground.
Walker struggled some injury season a year ago. He had a sports hernia middle of last year, and there was a nerve stuck in the scar tissue, and so that really held him back a year ago. But Walker has been key in the midfield for Coach John Harkes, the former EPL player himself, captain for life once upon a time for the U.S. men's national team.
Spent some time with Alan Pardue after the Crystal Palace match. Really kind of reminisced about his days back in the EPL himself. And really, for him, it was a trip back to memory lane in a way. Just seeing, you know, hearing the chants, seeing the uniforms, seeing all that type of stuff really brought him a good deal of joy as far as that match is concerned.
And we look at Kenny Walker walking off after this.
And he knew it right there. He just said, "What?"
If memory serves, it was tough to see his play was going the other direction. He seemed to struggle to walk the other way about 5 minutes previous. Didn't really catch much attention at the time, but I do wonder if it's related now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, because now he's trying to test out his foot to see if he can really put some pressure on it, and that was really a major problem. One thing I want you to notice, look at Cincinnati's attack and look at the positioning of Okoli. Look where he is. He's become this pivot player that really, when he's used properly, really opens up the wings a lot more. Notice where he's positioned and notice how he gets surrounded quickly in order to try and neutralize that effort. Just notice that throughout the match, or at least during the next few minutes, seeing how Cincinnati has been so effective because of that.
Off the head of Tyler Adams come the Red Bulls. Allen against Nicholson, that central back, playing a bit out of position. He's a central holding midfielder by trade, but with Delbridge out tonight, Austin Berry out since May.
And he's in now. Also, Harrison Delbridge just came.
There he is. He's on for Kenny Walker, and I would think Nicholson now moves up to that holding mid position. So Kenny Walker at the start of this all-important 3-game stretch will sit out the remainder of the game, leaving in the 13th minute with an injury. Meanwhile, Okoli pushing in off the head of Adams. Schmoll put that well out of play. But with Delbridge, you don't really get a tremendous drop-off. Frankly, he's been one of the best players for this Cincinnati side over the course of this season. Part of the reason Cincinnati has been so strong defensively. He's been now in every game of the year. This is his 18th appearance of the season.
Just being able to move around so well. His presence within his position makes him such a valuable asset to this back line. You start looking at where he is, you really don't see him positioned in an erroneous manner.
A bit of a disastrous turnover, and quickly Nicholson takes it back, and there's now water flowing the other direction. Between the legs pass through Speedy Williams was taken by Red Bull, but Cincinnati back on the ball. Here's McMahon.
Look at Cincinnati's transitions. When you start going and seeing the negative portion, saying, oh, well, yeah, they have some problems. They want to play a team that plays the ball from the back to the front, that's one of the sins that they do commit. Sometimes they try and do it too much, and they get caught in a very uncomfortable situation when a team presses them very close to their goal. Now, when they're out more towards the middle, as soon as that transition is available, as soon as they lose the ball, I should say, when they go on defense, you start seeing them swarm a lot more. And that's been one of the things that has helped them not only regain possession, but also help maintain it, because that's what really acquires a great deal of positioning and helps the defense move forward, but also the defense that's going against them have to drop back even more.
Omar Cummings offside on this offensive onslaught. How quickly that moved from Delbridge to Okoli to Cummings.
Oh yeah, you see right there. And look again, as soon as Okoli gets the ball, what do you see? You see 3 defenders surrounding him. So he has to first time it pass it around, distribute it. So that's why he's so important in that number 9 pivot position.
McMahon again flying up into the air and colliding. They call this man, Junior Fleming's, a revelation this season. New York.
He's been one of the best finds so far, at least from Coach Wolanek's perspective. Not many knew what to expect from a young player who'd already played first division in Jamaica with Tivoli Gardens, also played a season in the second division with Tivoli Gardens. So that really offers you a great deal of perspective as to the type of competition he's had, but also the experience he's been able to acquire throughout that process.
He was called into camp with the Jamaicans in February and came as a trialist to New York in March. A whirlwind year it's been for him. Meanwhile, Derek Etienne Jr. on this free kick. Whips it into the back post off the hands of Hildebrandt, and another set piece opportunity for New York.
Hildebrandt shorthanded that one. As you're going to see right here. Look at the movement by New York on the set piece, but then right here, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Fortunately for him, that ball goes all the way out of bounds. Usually goalkeepers have to be a little bit more fearless in those situations and expect all the consequences.
That's headed towards the net. An up and wide left from Stefano Bonomo, who scored in the 15th minute against Charlotte last time out. '18th minute, Cincinnati 34 points, third in the East, 8 consecutive games unbeaten at home, 8 road matches this year for Red Bulls too. They've only left 2 points on the table all season. McMahon. Touch through for McMahon again from Stevenson, and Rainish picking it up.
And like what Cincinnati are doing, controlling the ball, but also look at the way they control it and where they're still controlling it, forcing New York to swarm, but not doing it in an intelligent manner. Nobody really committing and trying to take the ball, pressure the ball away from a Cincinnati player. Stevenson comes up too heavy on that touch.
Delbridge putting that right off our camera.
That's why they're so good.
Yeah. You'll notice there's a little bit of a stagger to the camera when they went down to it. It took a second to regain those bearings, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine if it would have been the cameraman that it would have hit. Yeah, he'd probably be a little bit staggered himself.
Yeah, that's right.
There. He's like, thank goodness it was the lens and not me.
Makes me wonder whether or not our director agrees.
Well,
McMahon, the former Rochester Rhino, won a USL championship last year. Coley, a jog back to pressure Rainish. And away from McLaughlin. When you look at the Cincinnati attack, it's not really the blazing speed. It's a team that's very structured in the way they play. That's something John Harkes is very proud of, and they've got 2 guys who can hold the ball up. But Coley doesn't blast past you, and neither does Cummings at this stage in his career. Openo comes off the bench more often than not.
Ooh.
That's not the way he plays. And then you look at Etienne and Nicholson spinning out.
Nicholson there loses, as you see John Hark say, that's the 4th time that it's happened. He knows how to play the game. I mean, I'm talking about from a gamesmanship perspective.
Sure. He knows how to play the game and the game within the game.
Yeah, I think that's a safe thing to say, you know. I think, yeah, we're on the right track there.
Yeah. What a load of MLS experience on the near touchline between the two coaches. John Wallenick, the Fordham University alum who was
Don't have to
drafted
smile
by the
when you
Metro
say
Stars.
that, you know.
Which?
You don't have to smile so much when you say that part, you know.
The Metro Stars?
Oh, no, I thought about the Fordham part.
Fordham
yeah,
part.
you kind of like started, you know, you had that Kool-Aid smile going there for a second.
They got a good goalkeeper out of that university of late. Ryan Mara not with the team tonight. And really the goalkeeping situation for New York, a little too good for him, a little too good for a lot of players who have sat behind Luis Robles, the goalkeeper of the year. No time for anybody else. He has started and played all 90 minutes in 127 consecutive Major League Soccer matches. Just remarkable.
And that's when you get continuity, and not only that, you get confidence out of your coach. I mean, how much he's developed in the past 5 years after his short stint with the U.S. national team back in the Gold Cup in that edition, to seeing him now and the command that he has under the sticks really has been a tremendous story in the past few years as far as that player is concerned.
And you look at New York as a franchise, a team that was in turmoil for a long time. You didn't have a bunch of guys who were there for long periods over a certain stretch there. And now you've got Dax McCarty about to break Mike Peckey's record for most games played over the course of the Red Bulls career.
Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, that was
served on a platter from Hildebrand.
Tremendous resourcefulness by Hildebrand there.
And Luis Robles, all he's done. Meanwhile, here come Cincinnati, and the crowd up to its feet. Numbers, Stevenson. Stevenson tries, and Rainish dives out. Fans applauding the counterattack, and on this turf, a couple guys fall down, and all of a sudden it's off to the races.
Yeah, Joe Blade, a tremendous tackler. Did you see right there that time window where he needed to make the decision on where to pass and where to shoot, really closed down quickly. Would have had to drop it back, would have had to make the cross inside the area, but neither one really was there at the moment that he made that decision.
Cummings looking for Okoli. Off the foot of Nicholson. Lifted up the left-hand side. There's a lot of room over here for Brandon Allen, the former Georgetown man. He scored 50 goals. His brother's busy playing for that arch rival of New York, NYCFC. Another New York derby coming up here as Adams and Cummings in the center circle going down.
For the Red Bulls, the forwards seem to have been disjointed, and I'm talking about just disjointed not vertically but more horizontally. You really don't see them really being together. It's been one player dribbling and then trying to find a long pass to connect with the partner, and that really hasn't been able to help their attack, help the dynamic really press. They do press in the middle like they're doing now, but when they get into that final third, they lose each other.
Nicholson still grabbing that right foot as he may have had a flat tire back there.
Yeah, there was one sequence there where he twisted his ankle on the turf and fell down. There was really no one around him within about a 5 to 10 yard radius. So that was important to look at, see how that ankle's evolving through the next few minutes. Hopefully
we may find out how much Cincinnati has in its spine. Meanwhile, running down the middle of the field, Flemings earns a corner kick.
And mistakes you cannot make in that sector. Because when you have players like Flemings, when you have players like Allen, when you have players, of course, one that we haven't mentioned too much is Stefano Bonomo, really those types of players can take advantage fully. And now if you start to see these players get together and connect a string of passes, you can start seeing a major difference.
Etienne. That takes a bounce in front of Schmoll, and the 6'6" Swiss player didn't really step up to it.
Nobody stepped up to it. That's one of the most atypical corner kicks I've ever seen.
Meanwhile, up the line goes Bilyeu, and the ball kicked off side netting as pushing ahead was Bonomo.
Ask and you shall receive. Just mentioned him a few seconds ago. How those types of players, maybe together they might not be functioning or clicking, but individually they start to find the spaces where they can take advantage. And right there you start to see where Cincinnati are offering the same thing that they were offering, or New York was offering on defense on the opposite end. That's exactly what does not need to be done by the Cincinnati side in order to keep New York at bay.
27th minute, number 2 and number 3 in the Eastern Conference, and this ball played through. Flemings chips it over. That's out of play. Hildebrand came out, terrific work.
He's got to be kicking himself literally because it took him way too much time to decide. He waited for Hildebrand to come out. Great work by Hildebrand to cut off the angle, forcing him to go out wide. Also great work. You have to tip your hat off to Harrison Delbridge, cutting off that angle inside, because Flemings could have cut inside and really opened up a lot more opportunities. Again, when you don't have, Mike, you don't have those chances, when you don't have the matchup in the middle, try and go first post. Really wasn't a bad option, but when you have a poor shot like that, you really aren't threatening too much. But the idea was good, the execution just wasn't on that corner kick.
Justin Bilyeu, 4 appearances for New York, the MLS and at the U.S. Open Cup level. Of course, Red Bulls 2 unavailable this year in the U.S. Open Cup with the new rules handed down. This ball played up the left-hand side for Bonomo again. Hildebrand helps to usher it out.
Interesting to see Bonomo being the forward up top, being the reference point up top, while you start to see Allen dropping a little back. Junior Fleming's probably opening up himself a little bit, but it's more of a 4-5-1 at this stage. So it'll be interesting to see what type of reaction New York is waiting for, trying to get more support into the middle to recover the ball a lot faster.
Foul behind the play that Cincinnati not very pleased with, but Bilyeu did indeed go down, being pushed as he tried to kick that ball away. McMahon guilty, and again, he's got to be careful. He's sitting on those 4 yellow cards in that upcoming game against Louisville City over the weekend. Equally as important, this Cincinnati side. Stevenson getting a talking to as he was involved. And McMahon heads that out of play. And he is a malcontent.
Right there, and just bounces off the turf.
Right at Mitch Hildebrand.
And you said at the beginning of the match, physicality. That's what it's going to be about. You're seeing it right now. And well,
that's impressive from Polak. Bonomo, through ball, knocked away on the sliding effort.
Both teams finding the spaces right in front of goal, not being able to latch on to that final touch.
Bilyeu against Stevenson on the ground. Adams coming up, working against Cummings. Adams will be a high school senior this year. feels like that's how long Omar Cummings has been on the U.S. soccer scene and domestic play in the MLS and here in the USL now.
It seems like he's been around since Adams was born.
Yeah, right. 17 years, maybe a little much, but not off by a whole heck of a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Nicholson turning away Corbin Bone, whose impact a bit minimized in this match, coming off of injury. He's held out as a precaution last time out. Here's Brandon Allen. Cuts by Barry, slides it for Etienne. And then the foul and a yellow card coming as Allen went down.
Who did it go to? No, it goes to Tyler Pollack. Ooh, just went right at the ankle. Yeah, there's no. As much as the fans want to disagree and express their disapproval, well, you got to see his ankle at the end of the day.
One has spoken.
No, not me. It's his ankle that's talking right now. It's
right.
Throbbing, you know, not me speaking. It's his ankle throbbing.
Well, now a golden opportunity for Red Bulls, and the mastery of set pieces for them at the MLS level, maybe unparalleled. At the USL level, we'll see what they've got.
That was one of the things that I spoke with John Walenek about prior to the match. I'll tell you a little bit more after this set piece.
Allen and Bonomo standing over the ball. Flemings gets into the wall. It's Allen! Right into the hands of Hildebrand.
Impressed with the amount of power behind that ball by Allen. But the location really didn't discomfort Hildebrand whatsoever. That's also a lot of credit to him to being not only the spectacular dives and the great saves, but also the location of the goalkeeper, where he's able to stand and know where he has to stand in order to get that ball is very key.
There's Austin Berry, the Cincinnati native, 27 years old. Strained his quad in May. It's a career that's been hampered by injuries. He was the opening day starter for the Union back in 2014 at center back, and hamstring injury relegated him just to 6 games that season. Pollock again spinning out. And now the official here, a yellow card coming out against Pleva. He's got some work to do to make sure this doesn't get out of hand, because 34 minutes into the game, it seems like everybody's taking shots.
That's true. We knew this was going to happen. A very hotly contested affair, much to Coach Polonek's discretion and dismay. But still, you knew coming into this match that that was going to be one of the situations that was going to develop. Two teams that really want to beat each other, really want to separate from one another and get closer to Louisville. So you have to be prepared for this type of contact, this type of physicality. And that's one thing that the referee has not been really clamping on until now.
Look at Pleva. He's a bit surprised by all that.
Come on, when has a player ever committed a foul? It's like when you're in elementary school and your teacher would tell you, you know, they'd say, yeah, you're talking. I'm not talking. When do you ever talk in class? I mean, that's just the same kind of thing.
I'm willing to bet John Walenek and John Harkes have a very different opinion of what a foul is based on where they played over the course of their careers. Meanwhile, Cummings trying to take this down. Here's Delbridge coming on as a substitute for the injured Kenny Walker in the 13th minute. Up for McLaughlin. Cleared away ably enough, in line with Speedy Williams. Throw for Pleva. Trialed in Poland while he was still in college at Seton Hall, and he got a call from John Wallenick. Told him to stay fit after his senior season with the Pirates in New Jersey, and he earned himself a spot on this side, New York Red Bulls 2, in preseason. Off the head of Bone, McMahon now, Nicholson, and a foul right at midfield.
Like the moxie that this kid, Tyler Adams, is showing. I started thinking about that. I mean, when Omar Cummings was playing over at the University of Cincinnati, Tyler Adams was 4 years old.
Oh, Lord.
I mean,
17 years old.
I mean, just kind of, you know,
put those into terms.
Let that marinate just a little bit, you know. Let that marinate. I mean. One thing that I haven't seen in this match, and we've talked about how much potential this match had for offensive opportunities, and to be quite honest with you, Mike, I haven't seen much of them. I mean, you have seen a great deal of development, especially from Cincinnati as they bring the ball up. We've seen both styles and how they are effective in their own respective ways, but the effectiveness of the offense on both sides really hasn't translated into a whole lot of shots.
Yeah, a lot of running here. Here's another chance to run out. Corbin Bone has Cummings down the middle, didn't get it to him. Leaves it back, Stevenson for Okoli. Well over the top, not a bad idea.
Again, it's those tenths of a second. I mean, is it that Corbin Bone delivers the ball quick enough? Is it Omar Cummings making the run a little bit sooner? Those little things are making a difference in Cincinnati's attack. When they click, you see everything really falling into place. You did see Bone making that run down the right, but he did not have an angle. The pass would have had to have been too flat, and there was two defenders in the middle. Keep in mind that if Cummings would have been able to run at a more diagonal angle, would have been a better opportunity, and that's when Bone either shoots, crosses, or loses the ball.
Nicholson couldn't hang on. Etienne for Brandon Allen. Allen, good footwork to take it back. Plays through for Etienne, and it's just half a step behind him.
And it wasn't even intended for him. It was more intended for right there for Bonomo, excuse me, because he had a clear shot. He was pretty much angled well to take a first-time shot from that side.
Etienne has Allen and Flemings inside, and a terrific tackle in the box. Had to be perfect, and it was, from Nicholson. Bonomo centering. Flemings, quite sure what the effort was that time. In the end, just a goal kick.
Quick question, Mike. Did Austin Berry get subbed out?
No, he's still in.
Okay, because you don't see him really functioning in the middle. You do see Corbin Bone moving from left to right, from side to side. Where is Austin Berry to make that rotation and fill the space that's being left vacant by Bone? That's been a big problem for Cincinnati in the middle, and you do see New York not necessarily passing crisply, but knocking the ball, moving the ball, pushing it forward, and still finding a player in white and red in any space that's being left in the middle.
And Barry at that center back position coming off of a 2.5-month layoff. I mean, it played against Crystal Palace a limited amount of time, got the start. He was supposed to be the centerpiece of the franchise when he signed, but one would think it's hard to become a metronome after 2.5 months out of whack.
And that's really not his role as a metronome. His is more to try and be that destroyer. You know, drop back, stay back, and try and clean up the middle a little bit more, pass the ball to Corbin Bone, be a transition player, yeah. Metronome, not so much, because that would be something you'd let Corbin Bone do, and he's the one that can orchestrate everything in front.
Especially with Kenny Walker out of the equation for the rest of the match with that earlier lower body injury. Coley dispossessed. There's Hildebrand, the man out of Oakland University. Never got the chance to start at a professional level. He has gotten that opportunity this year, and he's leading Cincinnati on a bit of a Cinderella run through the opening 60% of the USL season. And a large Icelandic crowd that I'm hearing in the background here.
Big mistake there. Oof.
Big turnover. Running in Flemings, and another sliding challenge by Delbridge. Delbridge truly is the destroyer of the Cincinnati defense. He comes out and takes the ball right off of Fleming's foot.
Selfish and an acute case of tunnel vision right there. Had a teammate on the right. You're going to see right there. Oh, you got to try it. You had to do it much sooner than that, son. You got to do it much sooner. Especially when you have a goal, one of your partners being one of the leading goal scorers in USL. You got to have a little bit more faith in that, not really just close yourself to so many possible chances that you had in front of you. Come on. And Hildebrand looks like he was booked. No, it was Fleming. Of course. You touch the goalkeeper, son. You touch the goalkeeper, my man.
That is the third yellow card issued so far in the match. Etienne was making a run. It was unclear if he would have been onside. Doesn't matter. It was cut out on the way. Flicked over the top, Bonomo. A long touch. Taken down by Nicholson on the edge of the 18.
Yeah, that was a foul. He had to reach, and he didn't touch. He had already made contact before reaching the ball. Again, you said it in the previous challenge when he had it inside the box, how perfect he had to be. Well, in this case, he wasn't. Again, look here. Look at the angle that he's coming in at.
He did get the ball at some point. I'm just not sure he got it first.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he was called, because
right.
He didn't get it first. And a yellow card being given there to Paul Nicholson.
So
Fourth yellow card.
Yep. Nicholson's first of the season, the Englishman. Good behavior this year. Meanwhile, Red Bulls had a great free kick opportunity earlier in the game, a little further towards the middle, a little further out, but talk about prime real estate to try and put this on net.
Yeah, you have to, but also it's pretty much like you said, real estate, location, location, location. You have to try and put that ball in a better position than Brandon Allen did. Let's see if Etienne can do that.
Bilyeu on the right, Etienne on the left. Derek Etienne! That's to the left.
And it hit the post, too, in the process. So very good as far as the effort was concerned. Just a bit unlucky with the final product. And he put the perfect spin on it, but just, by that much. And that's been the most dangerous threat so far for both teams. In a first half that really hasn't seen that many dangerous opportunities. New York seems like they've been to church because they've been very forgiving throughout this first half. And Cincinnati, yeah, they've had moments where they monopolize the ball. They can knock the ball around. And they really haven't created, I don't know if they've had one shot on goal so far tonight. Maybe one at the most.
Whistle against Schmoll, and not that this game has been closed either. It's not like there's been no movement. The guys haven't been moving up and down the field.
No. There's been a lot of
activity. It's not a lack of activity to bolster your point.
There's been a great deal of activity. It just hasn't been quite as effective. And if you really start looking at where Cincinnati started to lose their effectiveness is when they abandoned what was really most effective for them, is to try and look for Okoli in the center of that final third and really looking to put him in a situation where he has to distribute. Players were running to his left, players were running to his right, and really opening that defense a little bit more because of the recognition they had to really apply as far as the attack that Cincinnati does have.
And in a half with 4 substitutes and an injury required sub, ball over the top, a push from Flemings on Pollock, but it's Hildebrandt up to take it. We'll have 3 minutes of stoppage time in the opening half.
Something for Cincinnati to really consider. They need to really find someone that can really hold the midfield a little bit better. Corbin Bone cannot do it by himself. There needs to be more changes in the midfield and really start to find that formula to really hold the ball a little bit better. They hold it very well in this sector, but as you go further up into the pitch, that's when they really start losing the plot and really trying to depend on Okoli, which they have abandoned throughout the last 15, 20 minutes.
Thinking back, the run up by Stevenson on the right wing about 20 minutes, 15 minutes ago was the last time Okoli, I think, touched the ball.
He touched the ball cleanly. I mean, he touched it a few minutes ago.
Right.
But really touching in a position where he could do something with it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Here's Corbin Bone. McLaughlin rushing up the left. Pollock. Played outside. Cummings plays it through for Nicholson. He serves it to the back post. Chip back in. Okoli was the target from McLaughlin.
And that's exactly what Cincinnati needed to be creating their most dangerous threat in this first half, as it's not who has the ball that's the most dangerous. It's the ones that move around away from it, creating the spaces and exploiting what New York is giving them, that really makes them such a dangerous and dynamic team in front of a goal.
And coming up at the half, meanwhile, Okoli, before we can get to that, still pushing for the ball, nearly a handball in the 18. And Rainish picks it up. What an unlucky bounce that could have been for Red Bull.
Very, but you still have to look for those. You still have to put your opposition in a position where they're going to make a mistake. Ooh, that was. All right, we will just go to the locker rooms right about now.
That's right. What a half it was. Not a lot of shots. That may not be the way to define what we've seen so far. A lot of action up and down. It just hasn't resulted in that first tally. When we come back, we'll have stats and highlights. Juan tells you what went right and what went wrong. And we also take a look at league standings, upcoming USL games of the week, and the tremendous attendance here in Cincinnati. That's all when we return halftime. Our USL Game of the Week scoreless. New York Red Bulls 2 and FC Cincinnati playing in our United Soccer League game of the week. We are scoreless after 45 minutes of up and down action in front of well over 10,000 at Nippert Stadium on the campus of the University of Cincinnati. Mike Watts with Juan Arango. We look back at what these fans have seen in this opening 45. In the early going, it was dominance perhaps from New York Red Bulls 2. And FC Cincinnati gradually got into the game to the point where this felt like a seesaw affair.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those moments where you thought New York was just going to run over Football Club Cincinnati. And, well, they kind of did, but they were able to, and I'm talking about Cincinnati, really being able to absorb that pressure. There were some moments where you thought that Cincinnati backline was going to offer even more chances, but didn't happen. As soon as they settled down, you start to see some important opportunities. That shot right there by none other than right there by Stevenson, and another chance here by New York. New York very forgiving when Cincinnati made mistakes in that final line, and they paid for it dearly because the chances were there, but they didn't cash in. Allen with a shot on goal off the free kick, but very direct, straight to the goalkeeper. And immediately you start to see this Cincinnati side start to find the spaces, start to find the spots, but again, execution. Fleming's had another shot at redemption, and then great work there by Harrison Delbridge. Comes in the early portion of the first half and really is able to become that force in the central back line. Nicholson there getting the yellow card after the challenge. And then this one, probably the best one for New York, goes off the woodwork. Tough break for them.
Meanwhile, late in the half, couple opportunities. McLaughlin putting it back in play. Okoli was cut off by Pleva. And nothing there, rather. We take a look at the halftime statistics. Didn't feel like 13 shots. A lot of them were off the mark pretty significantly. But look, it's got to be a little bit better in the final third, doesn't it?
I mean, the criteria for shots on goal is pretty much if it hits a fan in the stadium. So if you start looking at it from that perspective, yeah, it was a shot on goal. But also, the shots that were taken really weren't too threatening to either goalkeeper, save for the one that was hit off the post there by none other than Derek Etienne. So overall, a very seesaw first half, but at the same time, it's very, very box to box. So you've seen two clashing styles of play, exerting themselves, exposing themselves, and really trying to get the upper hand. When they've had the upper hand, well, you still want to see what's up next. Okay, what's coming up after this?
Well, I'll tell you what's coming up after this. Standings USL Games of the Week. The look at the attendance for Cincinnati this year as they hone in on what tonight should be setting the single season United Soccer League regular season attendance record. 0-0 at the half. You're watching the United Soccer League Game of the Week.
Stretched out to the middle, back to broke it up. There's a shot. They score! They score!
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, Toronto Rochester.
Yeah, oh, all good. Back in the Buckeye State, the southwest corner of Ohio, Cincinnati, as a team that's drawn so many fans, over 150,000 through their gates this year, are tied 0-0 at the half with New York Red Bulls, too. We take a look at our upcoming games of the week in the United Soccer League, and you look forward to this upcoming game on August 2nd, Sacramento Republic near the top of the West. Oklahoma City Energy, a playoff team a year ago and in the mix again this year. Colorado Springs could leap into first place with a win tonight against Swope Park at Real Monarchs, and then San Antonio hosting Arizona United. The slate gets better and better, Juan.
It does. As the playoffs get closer and closer, you do start to see these teams battle and jockey for positions, as we all have seen in previous seasons, as you start seeing the top of the Eastern Conference with Louisville up top, but it'll be one of these two teams looking to get closer, or at least inching closer, as they have two matches in hand respectively. Charleston just on the outside looking in, and then Rochester playing against Toronto FC 2 as we speak. That match just starting in a few minutes, and that'll be interesting to see as far as that result getting into that mix. You start to see a little bit of separation, not too much, but just enough that you can start to see who the creme de la creme of the Eastern Conference is and who is going to have to battle for their playoff lives.
Meanwhile, we take a look at the opposite conference out in the West. Vancouver Whitecaps 2 sitting in first place. Mentioned Colorado Springs could move up into first. They've got that game in hand. They play it tonight in Kansas City. But this Western Conference, I think you and I agree, has shown itself to maybe be the stronger conference this year. It's something we've been watching over the course of the year, and the upper echelon of the West, very, very impressive.
And you mentioned it. There's a lot of depth in the Western Conference. You do see, of course, Vancouver and LA have been the two top teams, trading positions back and forth. Colorado Springs pretty much on the outside looking in, but then you have teams like OKC Energy coming into the mix. They're a team with least amount of matches played in USL. That could also come into factor as soon as they catch up with their schedule. Where are they going to be? Now, can they take advantage of it? That's a different story, as we've seen them drop points every so often. Rio RGV also in the mix, San Antonio, St. Louis. You can look from 1 to 8, even number 9, and they could always be a threat to make a run and really throw that Western Conference a little bit off whack.
And with OKC Energy, 3 wins in those 3 games in hand, they're sitting in first. Meanwhile, you're looking over Nippert Stadium, and with over 10,536 fans tonight, assuming they get there, they would set the all-time single-season attendance record set by Sacramento. This is the game-by-game, Crystal Palace and the Indy 11 not included, but I mean, you look at the numbers, and they're just staggering.
Yeah.
Every single week.
Yeah, you're exactly. I mean, there's nothing else that you can add. The numbers alone really say a great deal of what this season has been for FC Cincinnati. And the scary part is that there's still matches to go.
5.
And 5 matches to go, to be more precise. And who knows how much that number could be. And if you start talking about a playoff run, who knows how much more that number could be leading into that playoff and possibly deep into the playoffs the way they've been playing so far this season.
And they have set the regular season single game record there. You see April 16th and May 14th, and then Crystal Palace, a sellout against an EPL side that drew a lot of praise from Alan Pardue and his side. Easily the highest attendance on their 3-game U.S. tour. Well, we're scoreless here at the half. These fans, well over 10,000, looking for the mark that puts them ahead. New York Red Bulls 2 forcing the action early and very much in the match through 45. One of these two teams pull ahead in the first all-time meeting. Find out when we return. USL Game of the Week. Morgan Lubin. And you're producing?
FC Cincinnati will provide a fun, safe, and fan-focused environment for all home matches here at Nippert Stadium. Fans are encouraged to participate in supporting the club through cheers, singing, and respectful fan participation. It's the club's expectation that fans will be courteous to their fellow patrons, fans, players, and referees. In addition, please be mindful of soccer balls exiting the field of play, and remember, unauthorized field access is forbidden, and unlike baseball, any soccer balls exiting the field of play are non-souvenirs. Please return any soccer balls to the nearest ball manager wearing a blue shirt on the sideline.
Cincinnati, Ohio, cat-a-corner in the state from the Republican National Convention up in Cleveland. New York Red Bulls 2 and FC Cincinnati in a decidedly more positive matchup here today. Halftime, 0-0 between these sides. These fans a little glum. They haven't seen a goal now in a little while. A 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace, and they're hoping to find a goal here in this final 45 to set them apart and try and pick up 3 points.
Yeah, and some very glum for what's going on the pitch. Some for, I don't know, maybe they lost a couple of Pokemon here and there inside and trying to look for them. But overall, it's been a very hotly contested encounter. Yeah, there haven't been a lot of shots, but both teams have gone after each other and have been very proactive, as the prune juice out for some fans, as you really start to look at what the second half has in store, Mike. You're going to have to see a couple of adjustments for New York, having to be more precise. You didn't see the forwards really connecting very well. You have to see more of that coming to fruition. And one player that I really didn't see too much of was Devin Williams, to really be that presence in the middle, to really be that one that really breaks things out for New York Red Bulls too. Same thing goes for Cincinnati, as they will have to try and find that stopper, that player in the middle, to really not allow New York to break out as quickly as they did.
Meanwhile, a stat forwarded to me on Twitter, 23 minutes. The amount of time over 8.5 games on the road for Red Bulls this year where they have trailed. Cincinnati has not lost a game where they led at the half. Not the case here tonight. Decidedly more average team when playing from even pegging or from below deck. Cincinnati in the blue, white, and orange, right to left on your screen. They'll attack the Bailey in this second half. Harrison Delbridge lifting it long up the right-hand flank. And too far for Omar Cummings.
It's great to try and be that direct, but understand that when it starts really bouncing on that turf, the ball starts going a little bit faster. So you have to be more intelligent as to where you're going to attack the ball, where you're going to place it in order to really favor your attackers.
Coley off the head of Zach Carroll, who had a quiet opening half, a couple of years at Virginia, and transferred to Michigan State, picked 38th by the Red Bulls in an MLS Super Draft in 2016. Off the head of McLaughlin. And Stevenson, first touch lets him down. Etienne lost it. Stevenson for Coley.
Devin Williams, 2 plays there, doesn't try and make himself available as Cincinnati, excuse me, as New York are trying to break open and really move up the pitch. And then when having to defend, he found himself with his head in a swivel as the ball was moving around him, and he really didn't know how to position himself to defend best.
Cummings hoping to catch Rainish out of play.
Good first touch there.
There's Kyle Rainish, second start of the season in USL, a Division I NCAA champion in 2006 with UC Santa Barbara. He was actually on loan in 2010 very briefly with Charleston when they won the USL championship. Last year, the backup for the Red Bulls on their way to a supporters shield. Playing or not, seems like teams win everywhere he goes.
Second half starting out a little bit disorganized for both sides compared to what happened at the beginning of the match. We saw a more direct, a more ambitious Red Bulls 2 side. Cincinnati trying to be what the Red Bulls were in the early stages, but they really haven't been able to string passes together.
McMahon seems to have a target painted on his forehead, again involved. Again, the Red Bulls collect in the back. New York crossing midfield in the 49th minute. That ball lofted over Brandon Allen and into the run of an FC Cincinnati player. It's Stevenson. And frustration on the near side as Cummings, again, the target on the far side. McLaughlin felt he may have had more room.
One question there, if you do see that you're so close to the line and you're going to get a diagonal pass of that nature, why not try and cut inside and make yourself more available and have more operating room to really handle it?
Man's header starting it the other way and a hefty collision. Now a ball pushed over the top. It's Junior Flemings away by Barry.
Good work that Cincinnati's central defense has done on Junior Flemings, forcing him out wide, not really giving him the best angle with his right foot to really create. And it's been those set pieces that he's been most influential in so far.
Ripped on net, and Hildebrand covering the Justin Bilyeu effort. That's just his third shot on goal this season. A little bit louder now. Okoli pushing from behind. Carroll cedes to Rainish. 11 games unbeaten for the Red Bulls. This is their third consecutive game on the road, which isn't much of a problem for them because they've picked up 7 wins and a draw in 8 efforts away from Red Bull Arena. Next year they'll move to the campus of Montclair State University. Etienne trying to play it through. Pushed up by Nicholson. Okoli. Sprayed for McLaughlin. McLaughlin marches towards the byline. His cross touched away by Pleva, and a corner for Cincinnati.
This is exactly what New York does not want to see happen. The ball going from one end to the other, getting 5, 6 passes strung together by Cincinnati. That really causes some problems for them to really defend. They get stretched out a little bit more, which is exactly what the home side wants to do.
Corbin Bone to take this corner. Rainish trying to settle things in front. And no targets really making themselves available. McMahon to backstop. Hildebrandt will try up the left for Bone. Out of his reach as it was knotted out. McLaughlin to throw.
Interesting to see that Bone moves over towards the left trying to really connect, trying to force play down the wings, but you don't see the accompaniment so far. Let's see if his teammates start to understand what he's looking to do in that area.
McLaughlin plays that through the legs of the defender and into the hands of Rainish. It's a nice 1-2 effort, but McLaughlin never really controlled it enough to make it difficult for Rainish.
Haven't seen any difficult shots yet from Cincinnati. A lot of quantity, yes, but really nothing that really has complicated Rainish in a major way.
Entering the 12th month of FC Cincinnati's existence. The darlings of the Eastern Conference, surprise in that it is so difficult to make the playoffs year one. In the Red Bulls' case a year ago, they did indeed make the playoffs, but difficult trying to start a team from scratch like Cincinnati. Maybe equally difficult to deal with a constant churn of players and young talent, trying to develop future pros, future MLS players in the case of New York. Through the legs of Barry. Through ball, well weighted, but Hildebrandt steps out.
My big question for both teams right now is why trying to go so deep so quick? Unless it's a clearance, I totally get it at that point of the match. But if in Cincinnati's case, you play the ball up, you are looking to be smart, you're looking to be efficient in the way you play, you're not getting the ball very well in the middle of the park. Why all of a sudden the long shot to try and change things? New York is already expecting that. They say, okay, they're going to knock the ball around. Let's just drop back because the long pass is coming. It does come, and they immediately lose possession.
And Fleming's ripping that a little too near. Harrison Delbridge, a bit under the weather coming into the game, but coming on for Kenny Walker, who was injured in the opening 15 minutes. Here's McLaughlin now. Stepping in, Pollock plays the through ball. And that's back into the Cincinnati bench.
McLaughlin showed some good ambition so far. Should try and lean more towards that middle channel to really start associating himself with Corbin Bone a little bit more. Something special could really start brewing over there.
Coley, the target. Not a bad idea, this one.
See right there, the idea is great. But in order to really create a little bit more, the creators need to start getting together. You've seen Corbin Bone do things on his own. You've seen McLaughlin do things on his own. Try and get together and start creating, and also see a Coley to try and at least position himself a little bit better and receive it in a better angle.
Adams tried to collect, Bone pushing it ahead. Cummings settles it down, lays it on the byline, and the save by Rainish. Coley right down Main Street, and the save by the 32-year-old MLS veteran.
It doesn't matter how you do it. He did it with his face. But still being very forgiving, but great heads-up play there by Omar Cummings. Goes off his chest, excuse me. And so it'll be a corner kick. But again, mistakes from these back lines have cost some significant chances for both sides. It's been a very forgiving attack for both Cincinnati and New York. We could have a much more high-scoring affair.
Austin Berry goes down. Being talked to, and now the training staff being summoned. That cleat got pretty high up there.
I'm surprised Barry recognizes that there was a clean, and Flemings,
Is playing on a yellow card.
was it him? Was it Flemings? No. Or was it Etienne? I'm not exactly sure. But thank goodness Barry's okay. We'll have a nice shiner. Yeah, well, apparently it looked like it was Flemings. Let's see right here. Oh, yeah, dude.
Indeed, Flemings, and yeah.
He better be sending the referee a Christmas card because he should have been already sent off.
Flemings was the victim of a studs exposed tackle against Charlotte, which resulted in a red card and a man advantage for Red Bull in their last game. And Flemings very lucky not to be on the wrong side of a similar situation this time.
Well, he's got a new lease on life, especially from a referee that used to be a kicker in high school. Rosendo Mendoza, of course, second team all Humboldt County over in Texas back in 2011.
You saying he doesn't like contact very much? That
Well, he's a kicker.
An easy foul call when he gets hit?
He's a kicker. What do you expect? Or he was a kicker at one point.
Was a kicker. And then he's on the right field here, Nippert Stadium. Delbridge being chased by Allen and into the hands of Hildebrandt.
Well, both defenses playing on a razor's edge right now. There's two substitutions about to take place. Anatoly Aban getting ready to come in. It looks like Francisco Narbonne, yeah, the Panamanian getting ready to come on.
Narbonne making his first appearance in USL play. Did play against Crystal Palace. And he debuted against India 11 in the U.S. Open Cup. And Anatole Abong steps in for Stefano Bonomo, whose second half much more muted than his first.
Bonomo had a little bit of a spark towards the middle of the first half, but it was just a flicker as not much else was seen from him.
It's always important to note 5 substitutes in the United Soccer League. So Delbridge and Narbonne, the subs thus far for Cincinnati. Abong, the lone sub for New York Red Bulls 2. Etienne, long-time academy man. Narbonne protecting the ball and putting it up the line. Cummings outraced by Schmoll.
Now this substitution for Red Bulls 2 puts a bang pretty much as the number 9. Brandon Allen going out wide towards the left. Junior Flemings, of course, staying put over in his section. So it'll be interesting to see what needs to be applied here.
McLaughlin rips! Oh, he scored! 60th minute. Jimmy McLaughlin scores his 4th of the year. 1-0 Cincinnati.
You can only commit so many sins before you have to start paying. McLaughlin, great finish, but look at the Red Bulls defense throughout that entire sequence. Right here, great by Okoli. And that, again, ladies and gentlemen, was the reason why Okoli needed to be in that position. He gets the ball, he has the defense being forced to recognize him. And now, what's going on there with Pleva? Dummies that ball through instead of clearing it out. Opens his legs and lets the ball go through. Again, big mistake. And great dance moves there.
Omar Cummings, his 4th assist of the year, and Jimmy McLaughlin's got his 4th. Meanwhile, a chance for Red Bulls to respond. Carroll chesting it wide for Schmoll. Schmoll, 4 years at Harvard. Speedy Williams. He himself not that speedy. His father nicknamed Speedy. He was Speedy Jr. Now just the one name. Long range effort from Pleva. Handled by Hildebrand.
But again, just looking at that, the way that that ball was played by Pleva, whew, that was brutal. I mean, how can you let that ball go through, not knowing whether or not there's an attacker on the other end? And Pleva really put his defense in a precarious position. And again, you can only commit so many mistakes until you start paying.
You can just hear the supporters, thousands of them, in unison.
Okay, yeah, I mean, offside, but there's a bit of hesitation there by Okoli. Got to try and sell it. I mean, I'm not condoning, cheating or anything like that, but if the referee doesn't call it, you go. You keep playing.
No, it's not the hand of God here we're talking about. I mean, it's just running out the play, right?
Oh, no, and it's not the hand of God, and it's not the hand of that Peruvian player in Copa America.
Right.
But still, you keep playing. You play the whistle. Hey, man, I didn't hear it. And in the process, you're also selling it, too.
Okoli this time doing more than selling it. Pushing off of Schmoll.
That's what happens at times when you abandon something that's been so effective. You start to see certain deficiencies emerge. Okoli started playing more towards the wings, started playing out of his position a little bit, and then you didn't see that presence being established for Cincinnati on the attack. The goal is a product of him being in the right position and having the defense react the way that everyone expected him to.
Carroll turns it over. How can Cincinnati take advantage? Corbin Bone on the run. Bone sends in the service. He's looking for Cummings. Pleva not nearly good enough. Narbonne lofts that well out of play into the overhang that makes up the Bailey.
That sequence, that shot by Narbonne, is a byproduct of the disconnect that there is in New York's midfield and their attacking portion. Next time you see New York go on the attack, look at the spaces that there are between the defensive midfield and the attacking midfield. You really don't see that connection there, and that's one of the sectors of the pitch that New York has pretty much self-destructed in, or pretty much has shut themselves down as far as the circulation of the ball. Start looking at that particular facet of their play, and you start to see that that's where Cincinnati has really excelled.
Early caught Hildebrand a little far off his line, but he staggers back, pulls it in, and tries to unlock Pollock. Junior Fleming's whistled for the foul.
You started to see on that play, too, that some of the New York players from the midfield were running in, right? That's part of the spaces that are being left, and Cincinnati's really taking advantage of. You can see right here, over on the left side of your screen, you would have seen a player running in and really being forced to have a great vacuum in the middle. And that's every time the ball's gone in there on the attacking portion for Cincinnati, it's led to a very deep progression into New York's final third.
There by Schmoll. And Bone had the ball for just a second.
You see right there in the middle? Right there, right in front. And that's that touch that's been going and being very effective for Cincinnati to move it into that attacking third.
Rainish claims it before Okoli got there. And so much room on that right-hand side once everyone sweeps over.
course, you do have a lot of swarming movement, but you don't have the compensatory movement that really fills that gap, that if a deep ball or a very precise cross can really leave you very wrong-footed defensively. New York at times loses their shape in the midfield, so that's why you do see these pockets emerging here and there.
Tyler Adams, the youngest player on the Chipotle homegrown roster, picked by Landon Donovan. Flemings for a bong. Blocked and cleared.
He's 17, and Landon at that age was already playing a World Cup.
And John Harkes had, I'm sure, already made his first appearance in the Premier League by about 8 years.
Well, as far as Adams, it was about 25.
Right,
or something
right.
like that.
Okoli trying to keep the flow going. And I think John Walnick may have been hoping for advantage play there with Etienne pushing up from the near touchline. Adams is looking for a yellow card too.
Young blood, you still got a lot of time before you can start pulling that one off. As a substitution being made here. Florian Valot getting ready to come on.
And Brandon Allen, injured in the early going of this match, has toughed it out. 8 goals on the year leads this side, but never really made things too difficult for Mitch Hildebrandt.
But that's why you have to give so much credit to that middle, that heart of that central defense with Cincinnati. Delbridge, Pollock really have been sensational in the work. And just rushing too much there. Sometimes that's the negative of the drop kick. You end up overshooting your target. That old school English drop kick. Scottish drop kick, I should say.
New York's unbeaten run on the road, 8 games this full season on the line. Stevenson forgot something. And a bong, I think, may have put his hand down on that. And Hildebrand there to take the service.
No blood, no foul, man.
It's not handball.
It's not up to us to call it. It's up to the referee, and he wasn't in the best position to really see that.
Nope. If you blew your whistle every time this crowd oohed and awed, it should be a very choppy match.
Of course, Lucinda Mendoza making his debut in USL as a first referee. He has a referee, period.
Cincinnati substitution. Entering the match number 23, Andrew Weaver.
Stevenson coming off.
Bit of a conquering crusader, perhaps, Stevenson, if his team's able to pull it out. Had a hip labrum tear, and John Harkes gave him a second chance, and in this game, play a huge role offensively, but would certainly like to beat his former team, New York Red Bulls, too. Away from Etienne.
And really, it's been one of these matches where you see who needs to be the catalyst, who needs to have the ball at their feet the most, especially for this Red Bulls side. A team that at times has players shuttling back and forth from the big team to Red Bulls 2.
Coming in Flemings, and he collides with Hildebrand. I think you said earlier, no blood, no foul. I think that's the case there. Bygones be bygones.
Yeah, I mean, he was also trying to avoid him, so you
Yep.
really can't give him such a hard time. So right there.
Yep.
As he's doing his best to avoid him, it's just momentum is carrying him pretty much into the goalkeeper.
Here come Red Bulls. A bong was well offside.
He's still
Adams
offside.
for a bong. McMahon pushes it further ahead. Wiedemann kicks it out. The bong never really settled himself in a good position on that run, did he?
Nope. See, right there, he's
Got Barry in front of him by just a hair on that second run he makes.
he does, but initially when he takes off, is Bezecourt coming on. Junior Fleming's coming off. Yeah, at this point, Coach Wellenick says, you know what, I can't risk playing a man down for the next 18, 20 minutes.
Fleming's a yellow card in the 42nd and came close a couple of other times to maybe adding to that total.
Vincent Bezecourt.
Cummings. Carroll.
You start to see with this New York side from an offensive standpoint, it's Etienne, the one that has to be at the controls. Cincinnati has lost a little bit of that leverage that they had at one stage of the second half. Starting to regain it, but only because New York is pushing so much, they're leaving spaces behind them.
Lofted for Okoli. Punched away by Rainish. The goal scorer, McLaughlin, trying to take over again, and now three players in a heap. Okoli was laying on top of Rainish.
No, forget
Pleva
it.
still down.
Yeah, but the way, first of all, the way and where Pleva got hit, Raiders shouldn't even be complaining. We'll see it on the replay.
Conrad Pleva left with an injury against Charleston, and
There's some blood.
they need to do the same.
Yeah, one of the players is bleeding right now. Looks like Okoli's bleeding out of his nose.
Physicality, the word today. Wiedemann service. You are watching the number 39, make that the number 41, I should say, in white. And from behind doesn't do nearly enough justice to the amount of pain I'm sure he's in.
He's not swallowing. He's make sure everything falls into the right place. And by the silence of Mr. Michael Watt, he's feeling the pain right now from a distance.
Yep.
And not in a vicarious fashion either.
No. There he goes. And Okoli will walk off as well after.
They had to get a nose plug there.
Yep.
Got some blood on him. And he was holding his nose for a completely different reason.
Yep.
So
he still has two substitutes available. Metzger, Najim, and O'Toole available off the bench. Kevin O'Toole, the only defender by trade. Pleva have been playing that right back position. This is a team stocked with center backs. Center backs as far as the eye can see. And the shortage of fullbacks, whereas the first team for Red Bull seemed to have injury problems galore at center back and a very strong
stockade
outside
of
back.
outside backs, exactly. That's usually the case. But when you start seeing those problems usually end up in opportunities, and that's why you've seen so many players from this Red Bulls 2 team end up going to the big team and really become contributors at varying degrees. So that's been very important for what John Wolenicki was talking about, is develop, improve, and contribute as far as the first team is concerned.
Not good enough from the defense of Wiedemann. And Delbridge is down. Another high-seeking cleat and another yellow card.
A bit, if you base it on the criteria that's already been established from previous calls, that one's harsh. No, I don't mean it's a harsh call. I'm just saying that Fleming's had something very similar and really didn't have a yellow card called his way. Now, it's a very different decision there by the referee on this particular occasion.
Anatola Bong's first yellow card. Leiva's night is done. Coley never could get possession. Pollock to throw with Walnick watching on. This coming weekend, a whiteout at Nippert Stadium. A photographer's dream. They hope to get 25,000 in the facility for Louisville City. Cummings shielding the ball away. Cummings tries to play it in the middle for McLaughlin. Pushing ahead Bone. And back come Red Bulls with numbers, but the ball chipped upfield. Okoli will put it in the net, but the flag was up for offside on the far side, and it's been up for a while. Now acknowledged by the referee, Okoli won't get the second for Cincinnati.
It just breaks your heart at times when they've had to work so hard. The fans obviously definitely not too pleased with that. Once they see the replay, they'll understand.
Yep. That was one of the easier calls tonight for the referees.
Of course, Corey Richardson on that second line. First assistant, James Dooling. And all Ohio refereeing crew as far as the assistants and the fourth referee are concerned.
A Bong. Nice pass to Spring. Etienne. Etienne has it slid off his foot. A Bong back inside the 18 and firing Williams. Sliding stop. Attack still on. O'Toole cedes to Williams. And kicked away now from Velo.
Another substitution from Cincinnati coming up right now.
A Bong pushed down on the edge, the penalty box. Evan Lee will be the fourth substitute for Cincinnati, who have just Omar Muhammad and Derek Luke remaining on the bench.
That play right there, you just saw some Harksian spirit being established by Cincinnati as Evan Lee coming on for Austin Berry.
Well done by Barry, the 2012 MLS Rookie of the Year. There's a time when he had played 62 straight games in Chicago. His MLS career slowed by injury. He's been slowed by injury this year, finally healthy enough to give a quality 80 minutes.
Not bad for after coming off an injury that's kept him inactive for a significant amount of time.
Adams. Ball knocked away by Delbridge. And Vincent Bezecourt earns the free kick.
Of course, the Frenchman, very ductile, very capable of creating and knowing that, fine, straight to goal is not the answer, so he cuts back inside, forces the defense to go on top of him and really make a play. A mistimed challenge there by Delbridge, and a very Oh, very scintillating opportunity here for the Red Bulls.
And Delbridge very lucky. That could have been his 5th yellow card, and he would have been suspended for the upcoming match against Louisville City. And with Kenny Walker's injury earlier and not knowing the severity, how important will it be to keep the center of this Cincinnati side healthy and eligible?
And again, going back to the referee, as far as what he's been able to do, Rosendo Mendoza, his criteria for giving out cards has been a little bit erratic tonight.
Etienne stepping back. Bilyeu on the near side.
Doesn't need a lot of power. Let's try to get it over, and and he's won half the battle.
Bilyeu scores! Lower left corner, John Wallenick claps with approval. Game tied in the 83rd minute.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this piece of work. Amazing how the Red Bulls sold it, that Etienne was going to take it. His body language indicated that, but Bilyeu just brilliant.
His first professional goal in his 10th USL game of the season.
Look at that. And also look at where the goalkeeper's standing behind the wall. When you, as a goalkeeper, have a ball of that nature, you have the wall set up to one post, and then you try and sneak over and be in charge of the other one. That's what happens. Bilyeu saw that. Bilyeu's like, well, you know what? If I keep the ball low, the goalkeeper will not be able to recognize it until the ball passes the wall. By that time, it's too late.
All of a sudden, so much more juice in this match. 7 minutes to go, and it's anybody's points.
And you were talking about a streak ending. Talk about, well, maybe that streak might be on the other end that's ending. But still, like you said, there's still lots of time.
8 matches unbeaten at home for Cincinnati since a loss to Louisville. 8 matches unbeaten on the road for New York, stretching the length of the 2016 season. Just 1 loss all year, and it came to Charlotte at home. Kicked away by Tim Schmoll.
Now, Cincinnati need to find a way to really regain their poise. And with the adjustments that New York's made have been very solid. Look at where Devin Williams has really dropped back, become that buffer in front for New York, and you have not seen a lot of chances going Okoli's way. He's had to open up wide to really find the ball, or at least make himself available for the ball to get to him. That's been one of the changes that's been really effective for this New York side. On the other end, you do see them being more precise with their passing. You do see players that have good control, in Bezecourt especially. He was the reason why you got the free kick that ended up in the equalizer.
Unsurprisingly, it's a New York side that takes so much pleasure in doing set pieces to perfection. And not much running over the ball. It was just putting 3 players there who all were able to strike it that puts New York on level pegging in this 85th minute, now 86th.
But it was great recognition by the players that were in front of the ball.
As Adams plays it to the left-hand side. Over the top towards Bezecourt, and it's kicked in, off the head rather, on the near side post. It's Velo, his first goal for Red Bulls 2. And all of a sudden, New York has a 1-goal lead in the 86th.
Again, it's being able to connect, it's being able to create, it's being able to find and anticipate. It's Florian Valo that's able to make it 2-1 here. If you look at the replay real quick, Mike, the recognition and then the anticipation. That's the key right there. But look at how much time it takes for Cincinnati to really go in pressure. Really, all times the time to really place it as best as he possibly could. and Velo was right there anticipating it very well.
Hildebrand has allowed more than one goal just 3 times all year, and 2 have come back-to-back USL matches. A little shaken up, it appears.
Not the only one on that Cincinnati side that's shaken up.
How about that? Velo in the 86th after the 83rd minute by Bilyeu.
But you've seen Cincinnati really flatline in the past few minutes. That goal, that first goal by Bilyeu really took the wind out of their sails, really started to show a great deal of lack of morale. And right there.
There you go. With over 10,500 tonight, Cincinnati hopes that they don't set the single season attendance record with a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Red Bulls 2. Great moment. Can they find at least 1 point in this match after leading from the 60th minute on?
One more substitution for Red Bulls 2.
Okole nearly off the arm again of Schmoll. And a substitute.
Metzger coming on.
Yep, final one.
Guess who? Oh, it'll be Derek Etienne coming off. So you take off a more creative, a more fast-paced moving player. Have one that drops back, a more defensive-oriented, contention-type defensive midfielder. There's containments in the middle that really are not going to allow Cincinnati to progress. But then again, Cincinnati, when was the last time they really created a dangerous opportunity on New York's half of the pitch?
Bong tackled from behind. '89th minute. Williams into the corner. Well done to create room. Velo, the goal scorer. Maybe too clever for his own good. Velo now. Give and go. Look at the run of Adams. And Bezecourt into the hands of Hildebrand off the bobble.
Again, the French connection there for Red Bulls 2, really causing a lot of problems for this Cincinnati backline. As now they're resorting to the long pass. Again, we've seen Cincinnati start to go for the long pass, for the deep pass, and really that has not been the most effective manner in which they attack. It's completely onside.
Trying to salt away the game here as we enter stoppage time. 7 subs and 3 goals in the second half mean 4 minutes of added time. Spinning out, Bezecourt. Velo into the 18, working wide. Velo against Wiedemann and McMahon. It's a throw for Cincinnati. You have 3 minutes left to try and avoid their first home regular season USL defeat in several months. Omar Muhammad will come on for Pollock, an offensively minded midfielder for the outside back. Both teams have now used their full complement of substitutes.
Cincinnati have just completely abandoned what got them the lead initially, which is a full complement of passes, moving the ball up. Yeah, they don't have the time that they did before. The big problem here is that by pumping the ball in the direction of Kyle Rainish, that really defeats the purpose of what they're looking to do.
Bezecourt and McMahon. McMahon couldn't hang on.
And it's been the bench really that's made a big difference for this Red Bulls 2 side. I mean, Bezecourt comes in, offers a different dynamic. You don't have a player in the starting lineup in Brandon Allen or Bonomo or even Flemings that offered what Bezecourt does, which is going not north and south, but it's east to west, that really made that difference. To be able to move away, not be so direct back and forth, albeit they are effective in tandem, Bezecourt does offer that different dimension. You also see the arrival of Florian Vallot, which is another different player, starts to look at what spaces he can really exploit and really start looking at better angles and being able to go and anticipate crosses that were brought into the middle. So good decisions by Wolniak to be able to bring in these players, and really since that pattern of substitutions was established, you've seen Cincinnati having to chase back. You see this example right here, Narbonne committing the foul, and that's been where you start to see that defense allow a lot of chances and a lot of opportunities on the opposite end.
It's an easy enough yellow card.
Easy enough. He was already beat, so that's the only recourse he had as far as trying to stop the play.
Maybe a little more than 4 minutes of stoppage here with that yellow card and a couple of stoppages along the way, but not much.
And just take it to the flag at this stage.
Cincinnati may not get another crack at this. New York goes behind in the 60th minute. Jimmy McLaughlin. A free kick finish by Bilyeu, and then Vallot, a well-taken header. Cincinnati will get one more bite at the apple.
And it's quite a shame because Cincinnati, the way they executed their game plan for a good portion of the match, really had everything that they needed to try and win this game.
Wiedemann deflected out. It's a throw for Cincinnati. Referee still not looking at his watch.
Never saw McLaughlin and Corbin Bone really get together to create even more quality opportunities.
McMahon. Kick to midfield and full time. New York Red Bulls come into Cincinnati, score 2 in 3 minutes to overcome a 1-goal deficit. Vallot, the game winner. His first goal in a Red Bull shirt. Cincinnati loses for the first time at home in their last 9. Red Bulls continue what is maybe the most shocking statistic in USL, 8-0-1 on the road.
That's why they are amongst the best, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in USL. If that form on the road continues, boy, they are going to be a very tough team to beat in the playoffs, regardless of who they put on the pitch.
And you don't want to say they'd be disappointed to have home field advantage in the playoffs, but if they keep playing like this, they'll have it, and the road record may not mean much.
Yeah, boos and cheers are the adrenaline of Road Warriors, ladies and gentlemen.
Over 15,000 at Nippert Stadium, a single season attendance record set tonight. But New York Red Bulls 2 come out with a 2-1 win over FC Cincinnati. Highlights, stats, when we return in the USL Game of the Week.
Don't forget to hold on to your game ticket and swing by Mike's Car Wash for $3 off the car wash any day. Fans, thank you for voting for tonight's Warriors Man of the Match. Tonight's Man of the Match is Jimmy McLaughlin. Fans, thank you for joining us tonight at FC Cincinnati. We hope to see you in our next match. That'll be this Saturday at 4 p.m. as FC Cincinnati takes on Louisville City FC. Be sure to wear your favorite white gear as we white out.
Back in Cincinnati, Ohio, the United Soccer League Game of the Week. FC Cincinnati brings a giant crowd yet again to Nippert Stadium. But this time they fall to New York Red Bulls 2 to begin a 3-game homestand where they host New York, Louisville, and Charleston. We look back at the full-time highlights. Mike Watts with Juan Arango. First half, all about physicality.
All about physicality. It was New York that wanted to come out and really dominate proceedings. Cincinnati were able to really absorb that initial pressure and start to look at their own style and start creating opportunities on the opposite end. You would have chances galore, but those chances, I might say galore, but you know what? They really weren't clear and concise, as both teams were very forgiving offensively after just mistakes that were made by the respective defenses. So overall, that first half, yeah, you had a couple of chances here and there, but it was more box to box, a lot of physical play that was being established, and one true opportunity, which was that free kick by Flemings that would go off the woodwork. As you see right there, another chance. Flemings got selfish there, really plays himself out of being able to partner up with right there with Brandon Allen, and ends up paying dearly. And as I mentioned, those opportunities, you have to take advantage of them fully.
And late in the first half, this opportunity off the post.
Exactly. That was the best chance for both teams. Best one for Cincinnati coming in the latter stages, the dying moments of the first half, but it doesn't go on target.
Meanwhile, we move into the second half. Okoli nearly able to put that home. And this, Cummings across the face of goal, and McLaughlin puts Cincinnati in front. When they lead, they usually don't lose.
Mistakes, those dance technique, man, that's some good stuff. But overall, it's mistakes that really seem to doom both teams respectively, as it was Plava there on the Cincinnati goal. But New York got a little bit of a reality check there, and they started to press more. They started to find the spaces a little bit better. Sometimes not with a lot of clarity, but the pressure and the mistakes that Cincinnati was creating on the opposite end really favored New York, despite a lot of the clumsy and a lot of lack of coordination that was going on.
Couple good looks late in the match where it felt like New York might be able to get through. Bezecourt creating an east to west situation, and Bilyeu scoring in the 83rd, tying the match.
Look where the goalkeeper is. Right behind the wall. In a situation like that, the goalkeeper has to try and at least look at another chance, another angle, or the opposite post to be able to guard. Bilyeu, great vision, and on the opposite end, we see, again, the Red Bulls in a span of 3 minutes go from losing 1-0 to winning 2-1. That's what teams on the road do. They find a way.
Below the game winner, perfectly slotted on the near post. Bezecourt drawing the defender, and it's a 2-1 win in favor of New York Red Bulls 2, who continue their terrific run of play. They've got 41 points now on the season in 17 games played. We look at the full-time stats. Red Bulls dominated the shots. They get the score line. They dominate corner kicks. Truth be told, I think a fair result, no?
Fair result. I mean, Cincinnati dominated not by much possession, but then they didn't create the significant opportunities that were needed for them to have the argument to be able to win this match. Red Bulls were just more lethal, were a little bit wiser, and were a little bit more street smart in the process.
So New York Red Bulls 2 are now 12 games unbeaten. Cincinnati holds the single-season attendance record, but it does not come with a share of the spoils tonight. Final score, New York Red Bulls 2-2, FC Cincinnati 1. For director Morgan Lubin, producer Kevin Brelenthal, and our Rush Media crew, and for Juan Arango, this is Mike Watts. Technical facilities provided by Vista World Link. Thanks for tuning in. Bilyeu and Velo. Red Bulls 2 pick up 3 points on the road. Thanks for watching the USL Game of the Week.
Stretched out to the middle, back to goal!
Broke it up. There's a shot. They score! They score!
Bernardo Fords.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.